Okay, thank you. It's good to see all of you. Thank you for joining us. We're asking you to stay muted until you're recognized. Questions will be addressed via the chat room at the bottom of your screen, and it's probably best to address those questions to everyone. We always begin with a mission statement. The Oakland Code Enforcement Project works to improve the quality of life in Oakland by bringing people and institutions together to identify code violations, advocate for their remediation, and monitor the outcomes. Introductions are next, and I'm just going to take you, Brady Bunch, across my screen. When I say your name, please introduce yourself and let us know who you're representing. Andrea.
Hi, my name is Andrea Oakwatch. I'm the Community Services Director for Oakland Planning and Development Corporation.
Liz.
I'm Liz Gray. I'm the Neighborhood Quality Consultant for Oakland Planning Corporation, and this is Francis Sinatra, otherwise known as Frank.
Bruce.
Bruce Krause, Councilman serving the 3rd Council District.
Eric.
I'm Eric McAdangday, and I'm serving as the President of the Student Government Board at Pitt.
Thank you. Matt.
Hi, I'm Matt Landy. I'm the Associate Director for Student Conduct at Pitt.
Sergeant Griffin. Unmute.
Oh, I thought I did. Sergeant Griffin from Squirrel Hill Station.
Leah.
Hi, I'm Leah Friedman from the City of Pittsburgh Office of Community Affairs.
Gwen.
Hi, I'm Gwen Bolden from the Pittsburgh Parking Authority.
Officer Schifrin.
I'm Officer Schifrin, Pittsburgh Police Zone 4, Community Resource Officer.
Sarah.
Eric Pinker, Department of Permits, Licenses, Inspections, City of Pittsburgh.
Tyler.
Hi, my name's Tyler. I'm with University of Pittsburgh. I'm on the Student Government Board.
Mavis.
Hey folks, Mavis Reading with the Oakland Transportation Management Association.
Tyler, wait, you moved on my screen. Commander Herman.
Good afternoon, Commander Herman, Zone 4 Police, in my office at the zone.
Thank you. John Tokarski.
John Tokarski, the Department of Public Safety.
Alex.
Evening, everyone. Alex Toner, University of Pittsburgh, Office of Community and Governmental Relations.
Megan.
Hi, I'm an intern at OKDC.
Jamie.
Hi, everybody. Jamie Dukar, University of Pittsburgh, Office of Community and Governmental Relations.
We have someone joining us by phone with the phone number 7503.
Hi, this is Tricia from Off Campus Living at the University of Pittsburgh.
Okay, so you're on the iPhone and you have 7503?
Yeah, I do. I'm on both.
Okay, that's fine.
No,
Did I miss
7503. No, 7503 is me, Mark.
Oh.
I'm A592.
Okay, Mark, would you introduce yourself?
Hi, Mark Oleniak. I'm Vice President of the South Oakland Neighborhood Group.
Did I miss anybody? Okay, great. We're pleased to have City Councilman Krause as our featured speaker. Councilman Krause, thank you for everything you have been doing for Oakland. And did you get our list of topics, or do you want to be reminded?
I would appreciate if you would remind me. I haven't left a phone or a Zoom meeting from about 7:30 this morning. So
isn't that fun?
I'm losing my voice.
Okay.
So can we start with a couple things that I know that are of paramount concern? So, oh God, here's Chief of Staff Gilman now. Could I pass for 1 minute because I called Chief of Staff Gilman around RPP? Would that be okay?
Sure. We're going to go on to public safety. We'll circle back to you. All right, Commander Herman.
Okay, it's been a long time.
Good to see you.
When was our last meeting?
We Zoomed last month, but I don't think you were with us.
Yeah, I was on a couple weeks off there. Did anybody represent Zone 4 at that time?
No.
No.
Okay. All right, so we only have 2 webcams right now. The city ordered probably 30 or 40 more because we know these Zoom meetings are going to continue. We work off of Outlook Teams, and we also do Skype. So we do three different ways, but today we're on Zoom. So why don't I just start with the Part 1 crimes? I'm going to see if I can share a document with you. Let's see what happens here. Well, no, I won't. So let me start with Part 1 crimes. I started with June 1st until now, unaware of when the last time you guys got some crimes, but you probably got them last in the middle of the month in June. So, but these reports are from June 1st until today, July 15th. Nothing outstanding. We had 3 robberies in the Oakland area, 6 burglaries, 10 theft from persons, theft from residences, 7 theft by deception. So it looks like the high crimes here are thefts. The Part 1's robbery and burglary are a total of 9 for this whole month-and-a-half period. I was looking for the individual stats in reference to the robberies and the burglaries, thinking that maybe someone would have a question on where they were and if there were any arrests made, but I'm sorry I couldn't get that information up in time. So there's 41 Part 1 crimes in the month-and-a-half from June 1st. Moving on to the arrests, there was 33 arrests, I'm sorry. Most were for simple assault. There was 10 arrests for simple assault. There was 3 robbery arrests. Fleeing, eluding is 1. Marijuana possession was 2. Possession of controlled substance is 1. Indecent exposure 1. Criminal trespass 1. Disorderly conduct 4. And theft-related other ones. So there's a total of 33. That's it in a nutshell. I wanted to try and share these documents with you online here, but I wasn't able to get them on the screen. Does anybody have any questions? I think the best way to interact with Zone 4 and the crimes in Oakland is to interact with myself, Sergeant Griffin, and Dave Schifrin, who are all on this meeting. Any questions?
No, I just wanted to let you guys know that a Panther Hollow bar down on Semple, kind of irrelevant at this point in time.
Yeah, I do know that. You're talking about up by the beer distributor.
Yeah, it is good. The license is getting transferred to a young gentleman from over in Lawrenceville. So they're planning on opening, who knows when, but they will be reopening.
Okay, I didn't even know they were closed actually.
Yeah, no, they had closed, which is why we've been having more complaints down there for a while.
Well, I do have a city operated camera in that area that scans that whole block. It starts at Cable Place looking down towards Semple. Or we can actually look up at Ward. So if there's any problems, we can monitor that particular bar for sure, you know.
Cool.
Anything else?
Andrew, if you would be so kind, could you please email the document that you were having no luck sharing to Liz lgray@opdc.org?
Yeah, when I'm off camera, I'll start getting it that way, okay?
Great, thank you so much.
Okay.
Anything else for Zone 4? Anything else from Zone 4?
Hello. Am I being heard?
You are being heard. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Joanne Cohen. Hello, Commander. Hello, everybody. I thought I saw that council had approved some kind of program to reduce theft from auto. Oh, is that true? I just wondered what that was about, or how citizens could use.
Councilman Kraus has stepped away from this, and we're going to come around back to him. So if that was a question for council, hold on to it.
Thank you. I didn't know if it had filtered down to the police yet. Thank you, Ms. Zaitzoff.
Or do the police know anything about that? No. Okay, they're indicating not. Okay, public safety, John?
All right, thank you, everybody. All the public safety efforts in the communities I serve in zones 1, 4, and 6 have either suspended meetings or they've been doing Zoom or Team. So that's where we are in terms of getting things on a coordinated basis. There's been efforts to try to open up meetings. For instance, tomorrow evening's a Zone 4 Public Safety Council meeting. They were making an attempt to have a in-person meeting up at the JCC, but because of the recent numbers, they're reluctant and they're going to have it on Zoom. So anybody who wants to attend that via Zoom, please feel free to email me, and I will email you the link. I will put my email up on my messages. Going forward, tonight I'll be leaving you shortly after I'm done talking, because tonight is our first resumption of the citizen and student police academies. They were suspended back in March. The Citizens Police Academy was halfway through. The Student Police Academy just held its first class. So we're resuming that tonight again by Zoom, and we're having that combined. It'll go for the next 5 weeks. Tonight we're going to be talking about criminal law. That right now we're in the planning stages for redoing both academies in the fall. We're planning with the effort to have them in face-to-face in public, but if not, we'll continue to do them on a virtual format, probably team. Other than that, the only other thing to talk about is National Night Out. This year was moved from the first Tuesday in August to the first Tuesday in October, which is October 6th. The National Night Out Committee is asking cities to try to pull back on doing anything of size. You know, National Night Out in Pittsburgh has become an event, and neighborhoods really enjoy it, and they do a blowout. This year, they're trying to ask everyone to resort back to what it used to be, which is on a block by block, people getting to know their neighbors, and so on and so forth. So we're encouraging that. Of course, we will be celebrating it unless the city comes out with a directive that we can't do it because of personnel or because of safety reasons. That's about it for me. Are there any questions or issues?
Hello. This is Joanne again. This is a little bit between today and tomorrow. I remember seeing a brochure. It happened to be at the JCC outside their security office. It was put out by the police department, and the title was something to the effect of "What to Do if Police Come to Your Door." And I thought that would be helpful. I mean, at least for if we could look at it, the people that are, well, I guess not coming to the meeting, but I think it would be very helpful for that to be out there, because especially like if police come, and I think these days they say hi, you know, it's the three of us, we're wearing body cams. That in itself can be frightening. And I think if people know ahead of time what their duties as well as their rights and responsibilities are, if something like that happens, because yes, there can be legitimate reasons, but there can also be a neighbor that wants to buy your house and is going to create an issue. So I think if people know, they're going to know what their rights naturally are. It's less likely to be defensive or to make it look like they're trying to hide something, because it is by nature shocking, even if your neighbor comes to your door not expected, let alone police officers that tell you they're wearing body cams and you have no advance notice.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, I posted my email address. I'll attempt to locate that specific brochure that you're talking about, and more than happy to email it to you.
Thank you, sir, very much.
Any other questions or concerns? All right, again, sorry I have to leave you at this point, but we're reestablishing the Citizen and Student Police Academy tonight, and I have to get on that soon. And I will see you next month. Have a great summer.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Officer Johnson
Yes.
has joined us.
All right. How's everybody?
Good.
Good. Good. All right. So as far as we're concerned, we have very few stats. That's probably quite understood. So as far as the month of June, we had like 11 reported incidents, which resulted in only one warrant arrest. We had some criminal mischief on campus. Graffiti seems to be a problem right now. We're starting to get several reports on graffiti, but we're following up on that. Our detectives are following up, and I don't have any further update, but we have had a report. I had a landlord call me and say that his apartment, I think on Simple Street, his apartment was tagged, but he said he tried to call the city on that, so I don't have any further information on that. We just had a couple of harassment calls, and we had one panhandler that we gave a warning to, and then other than that, we had 4 thefts on campus. That was it. Just an update. We do have a lot of student athletes on campus right now. They're at the bridge and throughout different other areas. I didn't get a chance to follow and see exactly what buildings they are in. I'm sure somebody in our department knows, but I've been off for 3 weeks. Just so I'm kind of like getting back into the swing of things. We got different assignments, things like that. So, but just to let you know, we have quite a few student athletes on campus today. So, and they'll be coming in. I understand more is coming in Monday. So they're trying to get them. They have to self-quarantine for 14 days before they can go anywhere. The only place they're letting them go is to go up to the peak, pick up their meals and equipment, whatever they need. But other than that, they have to stay in their dorms. Oh, okay.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Yes.
Hey, Guy, I got a question for you. We're following up with detective.
I can't handle it. I want to listen to my story, if you don't mind.
Okay, so someone's talking. Put your microphone on mute. We're following up with Detective Pat Loughlin with the graffiti. Seems the pit caught a couple guys. They caught the lookout, but the actual graffiti artist ran. So I asked if they could charge him with conspiracy, because I think that Simple Street area where that 300 block of Simple Street is where our little graffiti artists are. Today we arrested 2 women for tagging the Columbus statue. They're from over on Maytide Street.
Yes. Good.
And we arrested those 2 ladies that did the tagging on Monday night into Tuesday. They're kind of odd, but you'll probably read about it in the paper. So we're working on that graffiti real hard, because I think when the election comes up or Columbus Day comes up, we're going to see a lot more graffiti.
Yes.
Unfortunately. Anything else for Officer Johnson? Okay, thank you. Councilman Kraus, are you ready to join us?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So before I got on tonight, I put a call in to Chief of Staff Gilman just bring me up to speed on where we are around the residential permit parking program, this desire to move or shift the program out of the Department of Planning and over into the Parking Authority. I talked with Gwendolyn at length today too about where we might be in the process. I apologize. I am somewhat out of touch on where we are. I know Councilwoman Strasburger was helping to navigate that until she could no longer make herself available to do that. So it's looking like it might fall in my lap. And so if that is the case, I'm willing to accept and do what I can to help figure out how we're going to make this this shift. Talking with Chief of Staff Gilman, and with Gwen today too, I understand the complexities of trying to park if you're a resident in a neighborhood like Oakland. And I mean, I share your pain. We have some of that on the south side. Right now, it is not as bad as what it can be because students are not here right now. We're not sure when or if or how they might come back. The bars, restaurants are closed. And so things are a little calmer around here. But you don't have that luxury in any of the neighborhoods in Oakland, right? The hospitals are booming. The students are most likely either beginning to come back or starting to come back. And your streets are clogged with vehicles. So I asked Chief of Staff Gilman if he and I know this isn't going to be very helpful to you tonight, but if he and I could meet this week, sit down, have him bring me up to speed on exactly where we are in the process of shifting the program into the parking authority, what I can do to help facilitate that. And is there a possibility to look at perhaps maybe a staggered approach to reintroducing residential permit parking programs? As you know, we have them throughout the city. And so the idea would be once we begin enforcing RPP again, that we would open it citywide. I talked to Gwen today too, just to float a suggestion. There's nothing concrete about this, and I floated the same idea to Chief of Staff Gilman, that is there a way perhaps we could do a slow reintroduction to getting the RPP program back up and running, and perhaps we could even get that as a test, if you will, or a pilot in the Oakland neighborhood. So that will be on the table for discussion this week when he and I meet. And I promise you, I'll do my very best. I mentioned to Chief of Staff Gilman that I understand these are difficult times. I understand that the hospitals are booming right now. I understand how they're taking up a lot of the parking in the Oakland area, whether they're doctors, nurses, other staff that might be in the hospital, people coming to visit in the hospital and all those kinds of things. But at the same time, that needs to be balanced with the contractual obligation that we have. You entered into an agreement with us, bought a permit, and we said by doing so, we would offer certain services. And so we have an obligation to at least balance trying to meet that obligation in a very difficult time. So that's on the agenda for Council or Chief of Staff Gilman and I to discuss this week as well. I wish I had better and more concrete news for you, but I promise I'll get caught up, and perhaps even you'll have me back on that topic next month, and maybe I'll have better news for you. And I'll take questions at that house, but I know you have other things you want to ask me about. Liz, you look like you have a question.
Well, no, my concern is, my concern is there's no enforcement, and we're also facing the hospital people parking wherever, and we're facing the paving of streets, which still hasn't happened in our district by the city, and the replacement of sidewalks and streets by PWSA. Like today, they just posted a sign that on the 20th of July through the 27th of July, not a good time, they're going to close down Myron Street, no parking.
To do
I don't
lead line, we don't know.
No, they have to repair all the stuff that they dug up for lead lines. They're done with all the lead lines, and now they're just going back and repairing. But it's just the timing is really, that's why I asked everybody, all the council's offices, you know, if we could get kind of a little bit of a push, because we don't want to end up with all this stuff going on along with what's happening on Fifth Avenue. You know, when students are moving in, it's
so not to push it off or make excuse. Part of the reasoning behind why we dig first and then do temporary patches and come back later to do the final top coats is it's like buying in bulk at Costco or Sam's. We try to coordinate massive amounts to come back and do it one time to keep costs lower. It doesn't make it any easier for you. It's just a little less impactful on the wallet. And so.
Well, this is our biggest problem is going to probably be with PWSA shutting down streets. And we've been dealing with this off and on throughout the summer, and it's been.
Has Bob been helpful with that stuff?
Well, yeah,
in my office, Bob?
You know, we've been talking with Moore out of PWSA, and you know, she's got 30,000 things to patch. And
well, she was great on getting the cinder or the Belgian block back on forgive me, on Parkview, thank you. Yeah, so that, I mean, that helped. You know, we have a really good working relationship with Rachel Rampa too, over at PWSA. Maybe she might be someone to want to bring in and help get us through some of the rough stuff. I see Leah shaking her head. Rachel's really good. She's very responsive to getting things done.
She's a community affairs person from PWSA. I'm sure she'd be happy to come chat. Liz, just so you know, I did touch base with Domi at least about paving. So I don't have an update for that, but the conversation has been brought to their attention, and they're gonna get back to me with some dates.
That would be great. Thank you. Okay.
I don't understand how or why the meters can be enforced and have been for a while now, and the RPP can't.
Would that be okay if I brought Gwen in on that question? Because I think there are selective areas in the city that are being enforced, like downtown. I know the parking enhancement district in the south side is under an obligation that's being enforced, although we're not pulling any money in on that at all. But is that still the case, Gwen? Is there sort of pockets of enforcement taking place?
No, at this point, we're enforcing all areas for meters. We did start off with just the meters in the downtown area, and also allowing the 30-minute grace period initially. So as of July 1st, the grace period, the 30-minute grace period went away, and meters are being enforced all over the city, including the parking lots.
Surface lots.
Surface lots, that's correct.
Yeah. So then Elena has a reasonable question. If we've worked to get meter enforcement back up, then our next obligation to our constituency would be to commit ourselves to getting RPP up and running.
So I do understand part of the logic behind it. Of course, I'd like to have all my enforcement officers back and us enforcing the city completely. However, some of the logic behind it is with the restaurants not being fully open, and that being a good portion of why we've got RPP in most areas, where the people going to the restaurants are overflowing into the neighborhoods. So the idea, without students being here and without restaurants being open, we don't have that same impact on the neighborhoods. But I don't think they're taking into account the impact of the hospital staff that have learned that there's no cost for parking in the residential areas next to the hospitals.
Yeah.
Which is having another impact on parking overall, not my area, but some of those people that had lease agreements in the parking garages are canceling those lease agreements, not going back in the garages. So we're losing on that end as well. We've got empty garages. We've got people parking in neighborhoods and not paying meters and not paying in the garages.
Yeah. So those are all fair points, and thank you, because that I will take that argument to Gilman this week, because we are clearly strapped for revenues. Not that this would patch any major holes in our budget, but mind the pennies and the dollars take care of themselves. And I think we have an obligation to make certain that people are indeed feeding the meters. And it's our commuter tax. It's the only commuter tax we have that we can enforce, and to make certain that our garages are filled and being financially productive. I think that's a reasonable request. I talked with I don't know if it was you, Elena, last night, or Gwen today, but I talked about I actually passed the first petitions for the RPP program in the South Side, like I want to say 18 years ago or something like that. And we got our little pocket. I forget, it was the 100 spaces or whatever. We got it, but it was directly related to Southside Hospital. The fact that, and Liz knows this, there's a massive parking lot that is owned by UPMC that's off of Josephine Street, but they charge the employees something like $25 or $45 a month. And so because of doing that, the employees were parking in residential spots when there clearly was a surface lot that was affiliated with that hospital where they could be parking. That's reasonable to ask for.
Ben, could I please ask where you get the information that people are canceling leases from their parking spaces? Where is that coming from?
In the parking authority, I'm the director of on-street parking, but within our authority, we also have the director of off-street parking, Chris Spears, who has full documentation of the leases that have been canceled as a result of open spaces and people not having to work.
So yeah, so I mean, I want to make sure that we're not getting too confused here. Where you know, everything, a lot of things are sort of anecdotal. I think that it is not 100% the case that the hospitals in the hospital staff are back 100% in Oakland. There are a number of lots the UPMC owns around Oakland that are empty. There are empty spaces on the street still, despite the fact that students are beginning to return. So it's not quite as crazy as it typically is, especially this time of year, definitely. But we are seeing a reduction, and it isn't simply hospital staff that use those lots. Obviously, it would also be university staff, but there is a reduction of the number of commuters coming into Oakland by car at this moment, and that is very likely a function of the fact that people are teleworking wherever possible in compliance with the governor's orders. So I'm concerned lest we kind of, you know, the correlation implies causation, that people are abandoning their lease spots in favor of parking on the streets. I'm not 100% certain that there is good evidence.
Well, I wouldn't want to say anything that would that says that that's the only contributor to that, to people not parking. They all play a role. We've got a lot of things that are contributing to less payment for parking, whether it be on street or off street.
And if I can interject, the importance of the payment street meters, and I believe parking garage, is that it is definitely or directly connected to our pension obligations. And so that when council passed that back in, it would be about 8 years or so ago now, that the state, we were on the brink of having the state take over our pension. And then the council, we worked it so that parking revenue could clearly be channeled into our pension obligations, and that was satisfactory to the state to allow us to continue managing our own pension obligations. So it's much, I don't want to say it's much more important, but it has an extremely important side to it as well, and we need to protect that revenue.
All right, let's move on to another topic.
Yeah, I'm flying blind here, so be
okay.
kind,
Rental
okay?
registration.
Oh God, you know. So, you know, I do believe. Did I see Sarah Kinter here? I may ask her to come in on this. Hi, Sarah. I'm not gonna throw you under the bus, I promise. I'll partner with you on this. We have, from the day I walked in the door, tried to establish a rental registration through a number of different ways, and I'm sure you've heard about them 630 different times. Our biggest enemy in actually effectuating, implementing, and enforcing a rental registry is the Realtors Association. They are the #1 enemy to that process actually happening and being able to be implemented and enforced here in Pittsburgh. Sarah, do you have a slightly different opinion? I mean, we've spent a lot of years in court, and largely, I believe it's been initiated through at least some form of the Realtors Association balking at or wanting to register rental property.
That is absolutely correct. I don't disagree with any of that. For our part, we've been ramping up the requirements so that it, you know, I think we'll inevitably win this fight, and then we'll have to enforce it. So we created rules and regulations in 2018, had those before council, had a public comment period regarding those rules and regulations about how is PLI actually going to enforce the rental registration. And we've also, you know, built our model for how we would implement it into the one-stop PDH system. Should we move forward with that so that we are ready to go on day one when we inevitably, win this war? But it's been a long, ongoing legal battle.
Yeah, you know what? And if I can take that one step further, I'm not aware that this is happening in Oakland. I suspect it is, and you'll let me know if it is. But Airbnb has become a nightmare in certain parts of the city here. People have come in, they buy investment property thinking that everything's going to be fine. People are going to travel, they're going to want to use it, and need to commit to their obligation to pay those mortgages. They begin to dumb down to the lowest common denominator. They begin using them as rental space, party space, and before you know it, out of control parties are taking place and shots are being fired. I've had about 6 of them so far. There was some good news, if you'd like to read a statement, that they're aware that this is a problem and they're committed to stopping it, or at least mitigating it, and they are putting in certain requirements for you to be able to actually sign to rent a Airbnb property, and you have to be of a certain age and some other certain demographic, if I remember correctly, to actually rent Airbnb now. Is any of this happening where you are, Elena?
What's happening here is the over-occupancy of Airbnbs. And when I brought it up to them, this was probably 6 months to a year ago, to the Airbnb company, they just say, well, they sign, that they're legal, and, won't do anything locally about it.
We've had absolutely zero luck whatsoever trying to speak with anyone in Airbnb land, whatever that digital thing is out there.
I got through to somebody, but they weren't helpful.
Sarah, do you have any? I'm sorry, go ahead, Liz.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, this is something I've run into down at housing court. We have landlords that their tenants are renting apartments, and then they are renting the apartments out as Airbnbs.
Oh.
Okay, so it's a little bit of a shuffle there. The Walnut
pretend Airbnbs, right? Like,
well, no, they're renting them as Airbnbs, but it's just the person rents the apartment. Hi, I'm renting this apartment. It has 3 bedrooms over on Melwood, and then they lease it out as Airbnbs. They're not actually living there; just using it as
Right. Well, the original idea of Airbnb was that you were a homeowner or property owner, you had a spare room, someone's traveling, you're going to rent it, you make a little extra income, but that's not what it is today.
Well, many cities in the United States and Canada are going for the enforcement on that they go back to the traditional rule of an Airbnb is a bed and breakfast in the person's house, and the homeowner is supposed to be there. So
I think some of this might be complicated by state law and where we have and don't have authority. I know, tell me about it, but it's the world we live in.
Can I ask a question about renters registration?
Sure.
The topic.
Yes, the topic. What court are we in now?
I'm assuming we're still in common pleas, Sarah?
Still in common pleas.
Yeah.
Okay. And who's the sitting judge? Did they get a different judge on it now, or are we still floating around with a part-time judge?
Still Judge James, correct.
Okay. And, do you have any idea in the legal case where we're at? I mean, there was some motion on some more discovery, and that was the last I heard.
Yeah, so it seems like the crux of the argument has shifted now to the fee for service. So PLI participated in a citywide fee study to create our new fee schedule, and as part of that had added the request to look at rental registration and came up with a sliding scale fee. I don't remember exactly what it is off the top of my head, but it's I believe like $65 for 1 unit, $55 for 2 to 3, and then 4 or more was $55 per unit. And what it is a cost or a fee assessed to recoup costs for PLI to send out inspectors to inspect and feed in. Because what we're inspecting against is a 2015 International Property Code, making sure that the structure is safe and fit for occupancy for rental. So my understanding is the current argument is regarding that cost, where it came from, whether it's accurate and correct. And so, which tells me that, they're not, if that's where we are in the fight, that's why I'm pretty confident that we'll eventually win, because I think we have really good data on where that number came from and how to support it. And I would say now, 5 years later, or a few years later after this fee study, those costs might have gone up a little bit. So we'll see what happens on that front.
But it is a good sign that they're at that point of the argument, per se. Well, that's cool.
I hope.
That's good.
I hope. Do you have any more on rental registry, or do you want to move on to the next one?
Let's move on.
Okay.
The next one is the Lawn Street Promenade and the capital budget. And it is in my neighborhood of Oak Cliff, but we at Oakwatch felt that this project benefits all of Oakland recreationally and mobility-wise. I do know that the committee is visiting on Friday. That's about all I know.
Are taking a tour on Friday?
Taking a tour on Friday. Are you able to join? Maybe the invitation hasn't come out. It's Friday at 2 o'clock.
I don't want to commit because I don't have the calendar in front of me. I don't know what I might have already committed to. But is it with people in the city as well?
It's with the 5 people from that committee, 2 from the budget, 1 from the mayor's office, 2 from
wonderful. That's
somewhere else.
That's great news. If I'm not there, I'll make sure Bob and Brasha are there. We had our deadline for the submittal, although it's always flexible, for our wish list for capital projects for the 220 capital budget. We did submit that again this year for the second year. And I forget, I think this was to Jeff. I hope this is who I had this conversation with, and maybe Millie Sass too, that it helps. No one gets that first, would love to have this project done, and you put it in the capital budget and it's agreed to project. So, it could even take a time or 2 more, but the fact that people are coming out to take a look at the project, even if that is to just do an initial, what's the word I'm looking for? Site plan, that's not what I'm trying to say, but that's, I think, is a really encouraging sign that people are coming out to take a look, because I do think that has a lot of promise, and I think it needs to be taken under consideration. But it has been submitted in one of our capital budget requests for the 221 capital budget.
Great. Be on top of it. And then our last one, favorite, Oakland Gateway Ventures, Bates Street Properties.
So, no, I almost said something really bad. I got to be careful. Are we recording?
We are recording.
Yes, it's being recorded.
I almost said it anyway, but no. Again, tied up in court. I think, Sarah, you'll probably be more helpful on Gateway Ventures than I might be at this point in time. I know they're tied up in courts. I believe they've gone belly up, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe even a few have fled town. And I think we got a cost to demo, because what we met with law and we talked to the law department about actually taking those properties under a conservatorship, demoing them, and actually making them a connector to the parkland that is in the back of them and creating that as park space. But that hasn't really gone anywhere. Sarah, would you maybe be more helpful than I am?
This is a difficult situation. You can't just take someone's property, right? And the conservatorship is a pretty narrow program. What it allows is for a good neighbor to take care of her property, and they don't assume ownership of it, right? It's still someone else's property. There's no precedent for eminent domaining these properties and taking them over. So I think we're stuck in a pretty difficult situation. when it comes to our court system, we're in the criminal complaint. Right? We are filing a criminal complaint where you're either doing jail time or fines. The problem is tracking down that owner, right? And getting them to come to court. And if there's no service, if we have no service from court, they're not going to proceed on the case. So that becomes its own problem. So it's a difficult situation that I don't have a good answer for.
But Sarah, one of the partners is Bob Dower. He is a partner in a well-known law firm downtown. And I believe the sheriff from Judge Riccardi's court has an arrest warrant for him currently.
Conflating this with another property. I'm sorry, I do better with addresses. Do you have the address for that?
3403 through 3421 Bates Street, along with, I think it's 392 Coltart.
Okay, was that in your property from earlier today?
Yeah, that was on the list.
Okay, I can take a look.
Yeah, we had them in court about 2 weeks ago. They lost again. Dower and the company were both fined $2,000 per unit. So
I guess my point on the sort of criminal complaint section there is we can fine and we can jail, but I don't think that's what anyone is asking for. We're asking for them to abate the violation. And compelling that is apparently not something they can do through criminal court. You can't say, hey judge, can you tell them to please do something by date certain? That's something that has to happen on civil court side. So we are in discussions with the law department to figure out, like, how can we compel this action rather than fines.
What about cleaning?
So it sort of comes down to the old adage, you can't get blood from a turnip. And I appreciate it. I get it. I understand the difficult position you're in. But how do you go back to constituency again and 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 just say there's nothing we can do about it? I mean, the public has a right. We have an obligation, a duty to the public to have a right to live in clean and safe and undilapidated surroundings that don't pull their property values down. And I think perhaps we're fighting this on a local level when perhaps we need to be fighting this on a state or federal level. Is it time to go to our state? And I understand how difficult it is being a commonwealth and a second-class city and the state giving us the right to exist and all of that. But there has to come a time when we have a better answer than, our hands are tied because the system doesn't work in our favor.
Yeah, I certainly understand the frustration. It's frustrating for our inspectors as well. It's especially frustrating in cases where we can't provide notice and then it gets thrown out. At least we have someone in front of us. Just looking at some of the notes that our inspector supervisor Desiree put together regarding the fines, that feels like a victory, but it's not resulting in what we want, which is those properties cleaned up. So agreed with you. There's got to be a better way. Legally action.
Yeah, Sarah, since they've been condemned for over a year, is there any kind of time limit on the owner to bring a condemned property into compliance?
There is not. No, condemned is a status. Again, condemned can be something as small as a water surface is turned off, unfit for human occupancy, to something as severe as catastrophic fire. So the sort of range of what is condemnable is pretty big. And no, there's no time limit that says you must by date certain, take these following permits, get out these following permits to abate the violation. So no.
Yeah, it's just getting crazy because I went by today and there's a gutter that's about to fall into the street. So when somebody in a car gets hit with the gutter, it's just, and there's two of the porches, somebody's been living rough. They've been sleeping there. So it's.
And do I dare speak the name of Prasad Magnaduda? I can't say his last name. Probably the worst property owner in all of the city. He understands the system inside and out. He plays us for the full every chance he gets, and he gets away with it. And he's making money all the while he's doing it.
Oh, he's back in court tomorrow, I think.
Yeah, but on, what is he back in on? It's something very simple, weeds or
Something on
something.
Arlington. No,
Yeah.
this is on
Yeah.
Arlington. Yeah.
Yeah, the church, or the church. Yeah, St. Henry's. We've been dealing with St. Henry's Church, I think, from the day I walked in the door, and it's still not resolved.
Very frustrating.
Yeah. Hey, but can I say this on a really positive note? I am really excited about the number of students representing Pitt that are here and engaged in the meeting tonight. And I just think that's worth noting, and that I can say how much I appreciate that you take your role here as friends and neighbors, and you know, you participate and come and listen to us whine and moan, and but you know, help to be part of the community. And I hope that we're doing the same for you.
I can just say that Eric and Tyler are special guys, and we are very lucky to have them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's all that was on our list. Do you have anything you want to bring up?
I don't think so. Other than, you know, we all know what unprecedented times we're living in right now. And it only appears that things are probably not going to get better before they probably get a little worse. And we were seriously looking at going back to actually on-site council come September. We first talked about June, and then we thought, no, how about July? And then we thought, no, we recess in August, how about September? But now September is not even looking realistic. We don't know what our universities are going to do. We don't know what our schools are going to do. But the big part in terms of the role that council plays as budgeters is the harm that's been done to the city budget. And the last time that I met with Chief of Staff Gilman on this topic, which was just maybe a few weeks, we were about $130 million down in this year's budget. That's a staggering amount of money to try to make up. And so you're gonna see a very difficult time coming down the pike, because council's primary role is to be budgeters and to you know, sometimes play Solomon, you know, and make the very difficult decisions of yes and no. We're never given the luxury of maybe. And so we're really going to need us. We're going to depend on you heavy and hard. We're going to lean on you to help us make certain that we are prioritizing, you know, the absolute necessities of this budget, to make certain that those things are you know, cared for and funded, and that we together weather this really difficult time financially. You know, when I came in 13 years ago, we had just entered Act 47. We were on the brink of financial bankruptcy. We were very responsible council over the last 13 years, working cooperatively with the administrations to craft budgets that would protect your interest, and to see that we never get back to that place again. The governor lifts the 47. The future is rosy. Pittsburgh is on the map. We see nothing but blue skies ahead, and who would have known that there was a cinder block wall just a mile down the road that we were going to hit head on, but we did. And so it's going to be a really, really difficult fall when it comes to talking about money and what the priorities are and what the council has to take under consideration for funding. And so, again, we're going to lean on you hard and really need your help at that time.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello?
Have a nice day.
Hello?
Have a nice day.
Hello? Hello?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, I'm glad I'm being heard. Hello, Councilman. I heard you today at the meeting, and there was something you were talking about your own home in the context of something, and
Historic preservation.
Yes, sir, and how much it meant to you. You know, the history, and that you've always been there. And I'll apologize in advance if my thoughts are scattered. I'm not officially prepared, but I hope you can knit together my meanings. I wanted to address, especially because we're in COVID and because there are money issues, I wanted to address, what is the quality of a neighborhood and what would make or motivate people in a neighborhood to step up and, maybe take, I know I can't speak to the, the issues of a certain property you were just talking about. That might be, a far gone thing. But like, for example, it happened, one of the things that was brought up at our last meeting of the little, smaller Oak Cliff meeting is that the plan to honor a resident that passed, not a resident, he was a homeowner, excuse me, he was a grocery store owner, a Mr. Gene Rossner. He was also a Holocaust survivor. And I think, like he would get up he would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go down to the strip district and get the best produce he could and get the best go into Squirrel Hill, I think it was, to Lieberman's Bakery and get fruits and vegetables. And my parents had that same. They weren't grocers, but they had that same experience. They were survivors, and my brother was he had worked in a steel mill, so I did not know all the all this time specifically, like where his store was. I don't know if people even that bought from him for many years, and also he gave credit to I guess people. I don't know if it was during hard times or if it was the way their payments came in, but he extended credit. So because in the obituaries, a comment from one lady was, "I did not know his last name. But I wanted to express my thoughts because he gave credit to people so that we didn't have to go to it." And another person that wrote in the obituary, and here I've been involved with our family property to different extents for decades, and I did not know a certain person that's a remodeler that has had a property right next to ours. I actually, because he's he's a builder remodeler. I for example did not know that he had been friends or had worked for and then bought property from this grocer, and this grocer had extended him credit when he bought those properties, or otherwise he would have had to go to he couldn't have gotten necessarily financing from the bank at that maybe early stage in his life, etc. I did not know that. That man had a house next door to ours, probably for decades. I had recently called him and said if there's any. Well, there were times when I saw people with these hedge trimming or brush cutting machines. I mean, it looked like they could have taken down the national forest. And my relative kept getting citations for a postage stamp sized lot. And I said to them, could you please, you have these things in your hand, could you please do this? I did not know that this person had benefited from the same history as me. So I think
Joanne,
yes, we're only halfway through the agenda, so can you make your point, please?
I think, yes, landlords need love too. I think you need to bring landlords to the table. I would ask you, Mr. Kraus, and to say to all your other fellow counselors, if anybody or any entity is brought up at a meeting, or is to be brought up at a meeting that you're asked to come to, that you say, have you invited this entity? Have you told them that you're going to be, and I don't mean, have you told them that you're going to, in essence, going to be talking about them behind their back? Do we know what they have to contribute? Do we know their history? Have we tried to help them? Do we invest in a sympathy card when somebody dies and they have been in the community, and you have known to try to hurt them when they have 2 life-limiting diseases, and you try to put them in jail for grass, and you never say, how can we help you?
So Joanne, you make a very good point, and it doesn't go unheard. The importance of everybody having a seat at the table, and that we're all in this collectively. And it's very important to understand that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, right? And that we're all in this collectively. So I want to thank you for having me. I want to thank you for having me here tonight. I'm going to leave so that you can get on with your agenda, unless you want me to stay on any longer. But I'm going to make some phone calls, and if you need to go on with your agenda, I'm going to sign off. Is that okay?
May I just say to look at to think of the best interest of the House rather than be so against landlords, especially at this time when landlords need help to keep up their property because tenants are not able to pay rent, and these things do not happen all at once. A property does not go from being pristine to being terrible. There are things along the way, and everything needs intermittent intervention. Even like for example, the McGinnis store.
I'm really, really sorry, but we have the rest of the agenda to get to, so I'm really gonna have to cut you off.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Okay, good night. Thanks.
Bye-bye. All right, we're going to move on to city and county departments and the office of the mayor with Leah.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. Good to see your faces. I think I missed this meeting last month, so I'm happy to be here. Actually, that's a great segue for some of the announcements that I have. I have really 2 kind of broad stroke announcements from the mayor's office regarding some new citywide initiatives that we have going on. And then I'm happy to take any questions, and I'll leave my contact information in the chat box. So first, the city of Pittsburgh and Allegheny County are offering rental assistance. As we know, there was a moratorium on evictions through, it was set to expire sometime soon as a COVID-19 response. That moratorium has been extended through August 31st. So that is meant to protect renters who cannot make their rent from being evicted during this pandemic. So eligible residents of both Allegheny County and the city of Pittsburgh should be aware that they can apply for rental assistance if needed. I do want to make clear that this is rental assistance available to renters, but there's also homeowner financial assistance available to protect, like you were saying, landlords or just homeowners from foreclosure. So this is a piece of the CARES rent relief program that came through the city of Pittsburgh. And it's also part of an existing program at the Urban Redevelopment Authority as part of their housing stabilization program. So what I'll do is I'll just post the links to all 3 of those threads and all 3 of the programs. If anybody is interested or knows somebody who might need some help, you can apply online at the links I'll post in the chat. And that's available through both City of Pittsburgh and Allegheny County. And the second one is that the City of Pittsburgh has partnered with the Allegheny Health Network to try to provide some extra support to some of our first responders who are seeing an increase in just crisis-related calls, anything from housing instability, issues with addiction, unaddressed mental health issues. And this would kind of put into place a more formalized, streamlined process to follow up with folks who are having some of those more in-depth issues. It's just something that our first responders, EMS, fire, and police just don't necessarily have the capacity to do. So yeah, the city put out an RFP, I think, for a partnership back in April. Allegheny Health Network came back with a great proposal to try to work on some of those things. So we should be seeing some of that roll out soon. It's not going to be a quick fix for some of those big issues that we see in the city and nationwide, but it's one of many moving pieces that we think might, help to prevent some of the bigger issues that we're seeing in the city. So those are my two big announcements. At all of the online meetings, I've just been telling everybody to please stay updated with COVID-19 updates through the City of Pittsburgh's COVID-19 website, Allegheny County Health Department, and the CDC. I can post links to all of those places in the chat so that people know. Obviously, there's things changing every day, so stay updated. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask, and I can get them to the right place.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure, Emily, that you're not any of our phone calls.
That's
okay. Then Gwen, you have anything to add?
Not a whole bunch here. As I said before, we're anxious to get our enforcement teams back and get the city fully enforced. It's slow coming. So hopefully I'll look forward to Bruce's conversation with the city and see if we can get some movement there. I think it's a great idea to look at onboarding of the RPP and doing it as a pilot. So hopefully we'll get some movement there and be able to move forward.
I saw on the data that you sent, Liz, that some tickets were written. Who were they written by? In the RPP zones?
So in the RPP zones, there's still no parking areas. So if someone's parked in a handicapped space, or if someone is parked in a red zone or too close to the curb, the enforcement officers can cite for those violations.
Does that have to be called to their attention through 911, or because the cars aren't like coming through the neighborhoods?
They're out there.
So when they do a meter, I mean, after they do the metered zones,
as they're doing their metered areas, they're going through the RPP areas as well.
Okay.
They're not spending a whole lot of time there because they can't enforce in those areas for the RPP violations. So.
Okay, that's good to know, even. Because I think there's the perception that nothing is going to get a ticket.
Oh no, and if you see those violations out there that aren't being addressed, let our office know or do a 311 and we'll get an officer over there.
Okay, great. Anything else for Gwen? All right, PLI with Sarah.
All right, some exciting news on our front. You may have noticed that Building I has not been updated in the last few, I think 2 months, because we launched our phase 4 of the code enforcement module into our one-stop PGH system. Behind the scenes, our Building I partners and CX have been working, or our one-stop PGH partners have been working to rebuild that connection, and that should launch on Friday, July 17th. With that, we have some cool new features, and Liz, if possible, if I can get maybe some time in August or September to show you some of the new features that are in there. You can follow a parcel, and you can follow a code enforcement on. Some new points of data that we've added to the system are the court dates and the court information. So you can follow an issue on a parcel and then get an email with the court date.
That's great.
Yeah, that is one way that we've been successful in moving forward with judgments, is having members of the community who are concerned with a property turn up. And there's a way for you to do that in the system. So it should only take, I don't know, maybe like 10 minutes of your time, but that would be helpful if we could spread the word on that next time. I don't have any other updates.
I think Desiree sent all the updates and we updated the property list. So that's posted on the website, OPDC, underneath this meeting event. So great.
Okay, thank you. City Council, we've already, Bob Charland isn't here. I mean, Bruce already updated everything. And Cassandra, I don't think she's one of our phone calls either.
No.
Okay, University Partners, Jamie or Alex?
Yes, thanks, Elena. Good evening, everyone. I want to first just ask if anyone has any pressing questions about the university's plans or reopening, because a lot of what I'm going to say has been said in a lot of public meetings, which I'm thinking everyone in this call has heard. I'll go over the high-level bullet points, but does anyone have anything pressing they were hoping to ask to start that could cover some of that?
The revised students in the community, you know, the be a good neighbor thing. You're revising it. How's that going and when can we see it?
Actually, SGB and Eric have been playing a key role in that. So maybe you have more information, Eric, about that, the community compact?
Yeah. I'll be getting into that.
Yeah, it's under faculty and staff review right now.
Perfect.
Cool.
So in the absence of anything pressing, at a high level, the university continues to plan for safe reopening in the fall in accordance with all public health guidelines. We've compressed our schedule for the fall, so classes are going to start on the 19th, so you can probably expect students to begin rolling in to Oakland the week prior to that. I think Welcome Week is technically the 13th through maybe the 18th. There'll be staggered times that people will have to arrive at their residence halls and drop things off. So we're trying to space that out a little bit. Labor Day will not be a holiday. There's no long weekend. So really we're taking everything from the 19th through the week before Thanksgiving as the fall term. And then some classes and finals will be finished online after that. We've moved to de-densify our residence halls, as many other universities are doing. And so we've been able to work with 5 local hotels that I don't think have fully been made public yet, but to house some of our students for the upcoming year, at least the fall term. And we see that as a win-win. We're able to space our students out and create safer spaces on campus and also in the hotels, but also provide some business to our neighbors who are seeing vacancy due to the pandemic. We will be enforcing encouraging and enforcing certain behaviors and public health guidelines. Students and staff are going to be getting masks to start the term. Tyler and Eric are going to talk about the community compact, but there will be university institutional-wide agreements that staff, faculty, students are going to have to review, sign off on. There'll be orientation for all students and staff and faculty about proper public health guidelines, what to do if you think you're sick, how to sort of engage in community because we're in a dense urban area. So we're really trying to get out ahead of that before people will return to campus in August. We've rolled out a resiliency plan that has 3 elevated risk postures that are aligned with the governor's red, yellow, and green statuses. In all 3 of them, staff and faculty are encouraged to, faculty to the extent that they can, staff mainly, are encouraged to continue to work from home. So we will see a lower than usual employee presence at the university as possible. And because of that, we're using some of our employee space as swing space. So for instance, Craig Hall over on South Craig Street, going to be classroom space where before it was our HR department. I think Officer Johnson is still on here. The Pitt Police have been patrolling and will continue to patrol as usual. Jamie and I are going to work with them and SGB, and I know Trish was on the phone too, and Matthew and Conduct to find some new ways to get out the usual information we do to students about behaving in community, what it means to live in community throughout the year. So that information and messaging still gets out to our students who are living off campus or who may be engaging off campus. And we're hoping to really work with, you know, our partners in the neighborhood to do that as well, because it's going to be a challenging year due to the pandemic. I think some of our usual programming, like the block parties, like the tenant workshops and other things that student affairs might do, are going to have to obviously be serious rethought. So we'll have to find new ways to do that. My point there was just that, you know, I think we've heard some concern in some other neighborhood meetings about students following public health guidelines in the neighborhoods and things. And so it's a hot topic in our conversation circles. I'm sure Eric and Tyler will say the same thing. And so we're going to be making sure we do our best to get out in front of it and work together to address it when concerns are raised. It's a fluid, I'm trying to think of all the other things. It seems like things change every day, and it's a fluid situation, as we all know. So everyone on the call knows you can contact myself, Jamie, or any of you know, my PIT colleagues on the phone right now to ask questions as they might come up. And I'm sure that as we go from today to start of the term, things will change again. So
I have one question. You have the student athletes are quarantining for 14 days when they're coming into town. Is the student population going to do that too?
No.
Well, there is going to be guidance for students at large who will be returning on campus for what they can do regarding a 14-day self-quarantine. And it's not out yet.
For just on campus. I'm also speaking about off campus. And with regards to the 19 states that the governor has listed as hotspots or whatever.
Yeah, that will take precedence. So any states that are quote unquote hotspots or high risk will take precedence over university policy. But additionally, the university will, hopefully within the next 2 to 3 weeks, come out with official guidance on self-quarantining for students come mid-August.
Okay.
Alex, anything else?
No, thanks, Elaine.
Okay, all right, then let's transition into Tyler and Eric.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to try to be really quick because I know we're approaching the 7:30 deadline and I want to leave some time for questions and everything. 3 really quick things. We bring this up every time, but Student Government Board is still sponsoring free legal services to Pitt undergraduate and graduate students. Eric is going to post a link in the chat. There's also some really good information on there, some guides, some resources for individuals living in the community as well who are looking for legal assistance. So feel free to check that out. The second thing we want to talk about is a community compact. So last month, undergraduate and graduate student leaders drafted a community compact, which details the guiding principles, standards, and expectations for on and off campus behavior. It's sort of what we've been talking about. The document is currently going under final review by staff and faculty leadership and will soon be published publicly to the community. Eric and I have been working pretty hard on it. And once it is, we're more than happy to share the documents with OPDC and everyone here. We can bring it up at next meeting as well and talk about it. But really, we just want to help build this shared responsibility that's going to be necessary for a safe fall semester ahead. And then the last and final thing we want to talk about is a community check-in event that Student Government Board's putting on. It's going to be open to all Pitt community members, so we encourage people on this call to come as well. The event is an opportunity for students to ask questions, voice concerns, or share ideas about the upcoming semester and what Student Government Board can do. And you can feel free to submit questions or comments prior to the event. If you can't attend, using the link to our event page on Facebook, and Eric put that in the chat as well. And I'll leave some time for questions if anyone has any.
You know what? You guys really are doing a great job. You're keeping
it's impressive.
Yes. Dealing with a really rotten kind of situation and dealing with it with a good deal of grace. So not easy.
Any questions for these two? Okay, Keith Palo isn't with us this evening. Under community announcements, I wanted to call your attention to the Oakland-wide community meeting. Andrea, do you want to say a few words?
It's up on our website right now. Our community meeting is on Tuesday, the 28th of July. We missed last month. We did not have a all Oakland community meeting in June, but we are back to our regular schedule. There are 2 design advisory projects that we will be reviewing. One of them is a parking garage down on 2nd Avenue, and the other is the installation of ADA railings around the Cathedral Learning. There will also be some discussion of some new community engagement initiatives that OPDC is rolling out, which are not yet rolled. So hopefully by the time the meeting comes around, there will be an exhibit to show you all. And that's pretty much it for that upcoming meeting. Just wanted to let everybody know, save the date, please. August 13th is OPDC's annual storytelling event, this time online. We're gonna have to think of some sort of creative way to get our signature cocktail into your hands so that you can listen to stories with us online. It'll be kind of like a party, except you don't really actually have to get dressed. And that's at 7 o'clock on Thursday, August 13th, and announcements will be going out about that.
All right, thank you. Recognizing that August is a crazy month for most of you, we will not be holding a meeting. If you have any information you want us to have, especially about student move-in, please send Liz the information as you get it. So our next meeting will be Wednesday, September 16th via Zoom at 6 p.m. Thank you again. Stay safe. Liz?
Yeah, I was just going to say our featured speaker will be Ian Reynolds, who is the new Disruptive Properties Coordinator for the city.
Hi.
That's it, guys. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Night.
Bye.
Cheers. Night, Dave.
Okay, have a good night.
Good night. Take care, guys.
Oh, I feel like this is the Waltons. Remember at the end of the Waltons?
Good night, John Boy.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Guy. Good night, Dave.
Good night, Aaron.
Good night, Sergeant Griffin.
Good night, Ron.
Good night,
Mark.
There. Good night, Pixel 2XL.
See you in September.
Yep.
Good night. Stay safe, everybody.
You too.
Okay.
You too. Good night, Liz.
Night, guys. Take care, everyone.
All right.
Hang up, Guy.
Can we come over and share that, guys?
Is it good?
You have enough for everybody?
You're muted, Guy.
You got to mute your camera too. There.
It's all right. I want everybody watching me eat.
You're making me hungry.
I know.
Elena, was your intent for us to discuss something after this, or should I just go ahead and end the meeting for everybody and kick us all off?
I think we can be kicked out.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I think we
Do me a favor, look both ways before you cross the street, all right?
That is very good advice.